Board of Directors to order, and I'd ask all of you to please stand and join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice President Ferryman.
Bow your heads, and Lord, give us the wisdom to make good decisions for our constituency and the citizens of Costa Mesa. Amen.
Madam Clerk, our roll call, please.
Director Arthur Perry. Assistant Secretary Robert Uten.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer.
Present.
Vice President James Ferryman.
Present.
President Michael Schaefer.
Here. Director Perry is not with us this evening. We knew about that prior, right? Yeah, okay. Late communications, Scott, anything for late?
No, Mr. President.
Ceremonial matters and presentations.
Yes, we do have presentations.
We have presentations to present to three of our recent graduates of the Citizens Environmental Protection Agency. On behalf of the board, we would like to thank all of the participants for participating in the endeavor. Hopefully you learned a couple of things and have an appreciation of the stuff that you get rid of, where it goes, and we certainly thank you for taking the time and the attention to be involved. I think I speak for all the board, and again, commending all of you and thanking you for participating. It's really appreciated. So with that, I'm going to present some certificates of completion or participation. And the first one I'd like to present, if I mess up your name, I'm really sorry. Patricia Paulette. Is that close enough?
Is that on the button?
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
1 out of 3 isn't bad. You want it over here?
Yeah.
Why don't you come on up? We're going to have a photo opportunity and present your certificate. Here's your certificate. And once again, thank you for participating. Look right at the camera, and as I tell my grandkids, cheese.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're ready for your picture, aren't you? Next participant is George Berg. George is becoming very familiar with the Costa Mesa Sanitary District, and we thank you again, buddy, for your participation as always. And there's a nice certificate for you to hang somewhere in the house. Somehow knowing you, I thought you might say that. And finally, Charlie Markell, if you come forward. Charles Markell. So there's those of us that know this young man, it's Charlie. Charlie, congratulations, and thank you again for doing this with us.
We enjoyed it very much.
I'm glad to hear it. Okay, look, don't go away. Gina wants your picture.
We're going to excuse ourselves. We have a dinner engagement.
You're
I don't blame
lucky.
you.
I wouldn't have missed this break. You really want to go dinner?
Yeah.
Good seeing you.
Tricia, make sure he buys, okay?
Thank you again.
Thank you for participating.
Thank you.
Okay, next, public comments. This is the time set aside for persons to speak on items not on our agenda that are within our subject matter. Mr. Mosier, you've requested?
Yes, thank you, President Schaefer and members of the board. My name is Jim Mosier, and I had a couple of comments. First one, I come to these meetings kind of unprepared, but I was surprised as a non-agenda item to not see on the agenda an update on the activities of the Citizens Advisory Committee. I thought that was going to be kind of a standing item. I did not myself have a chance to review the video of their meeting that they held on October 10th, so I'll go back and look at that, but I was kind of anticipating a report about it here, which I'm surprised not to see. One thing I'm very happy not to see on the agenda is any more closed sessions. And I did have a comment about the closed session that you held at your October 9th study session, which was the meeting that you held on the day before the Citizen Advisory Committee last met. I was surprised to see on that study session agenda a closed session at the end, which was notice to the public as being about anticipated litigation, but not explaining what it was about. And then at the end of the meeting, there was an announcement, somewhat obscure, about the rest of the board empowering the president to review personnel files or something. Two things I wanted to point out is I thought there was a different Brown Act section that would be cited if there was a personnel matter. I'm always bothered by closed sessions that claim to be about anticipated litigation and don't tell the public what it's about, because almost anything in the world could be the subject of anticipated litigation, and it has bad perception in the public that you might just be discussing something that's embarrassing. That particular provision of the Brown Act allows you not to disclose what the subject matter is only if the person who potentially could sue the district doesn't know what it is that they could sue about. But then at the end I hear it's a personnel matter, and I would guess that they probably did know what they could sue about, and I think it would be a courtesy to the public to at least acknowledge in the closed session announcement what it is about. So it would have been helpful if it said it was anticipated litigation about a personnel matter, and the public who was interested perhaps could guess what it was about and come here to talk to you. When it just says anticipated litigation and nothing, they don't have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll address the first issue Mr. Mosher raised, and then District Council will address the next issue. He is correct, and honestly, I don't have an excuse. We just forgot about the CC meeting, putting it on the agenda. It just totally slipped our mind. So we apologize for that. We will have that to you at the study session. We'll have that at the study session agenda for you to review.
November
For that.
13th.
It was just minor, it was oversight on our part. We apologize. So, turn it over to.
On the reasons we met in closed session, there might have been at least two different sections that applied. We only used one of them, and that one was for the I can't remember exactly how it reads, but the potential that the person that would be involved in the litigation doesn't know of the facts. That's the one we used. Well, we may use different ones in the future, but that's the one we used that night. Another one might have applied also. It's possible two different exceptions apply that you can go into closed session under. we only used one, so that's what we did that night. We may use a different one next time when we talk about that subject. But we were lawful in what we did.
All right. We'll move now to the consent calendar. Anybody questions or anything needs to be pulled from the consent calendar?
I'll move it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one member not in attendance. Okay, Scott, General Manager's report, D.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 1 is to review and file the 2015-20 strategic plan quarterly update. This is the first quarter for fiscal year 18-19. Just happy to answer any questions. I do want to bring to the board's attention that we'll need to reconvene and strategize the next 5 years, because this will be over in about a year and a half. It's just around the corner. So we'll have to do all this all over again another 5 years, if that's what you want. We can do it longer if you want, or if you want to do 5 years, but it's coming to the end here, so just FYI on that.
So sometime in the middle, or sometime in the course of the next 18, less than 18 months now.
Yes, correct.
We need to make a decision on how to approach, what method to use for the strategic.
Yeah, we did it both ways. I mean, I facilitated the workshops with staff and the board. Before that, the 10-15, it was facilitated by consultants. So having me facilitate is going to save you some money. I think that's why we saved about $20,000 doing it. I'd be happy to do it again if you so please. But there's some options for us.
In the solid waste section 2.4, it says develop strategies for 75% diversion. I guess I expect that to be by 2020. 2020 is right around the corner. I probably need to be brought up to date on, what strategies are being developed. Maybe at the study session in November. It's not long. if
Yeah. Well, right. In our recent contract negotiations with CR&R, we did mention that to them. Well, what strategy we're going to use to get to 75%, because that was one of the big number that they said that they're going to try to achieve with the organics recycling. And so now that they indicated in our contract that they're going to have an employee dedicate 20 hours a week to us, and so we want to see what those 20 hours, what's that person
maybe
doing.
they could bring that to the study session.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, that is on our mind. We've had communication with CNR. What strategies are we developing?
And do we have any other strategies?
It's just right now the strategies is community outreach. I think the CEPA, the Citizens Environmental Protection Academy, is a great resource to take people on tours to the Paris facility and the transfer station. So part of our community outreach is a strategy to increase our diversion.
So basically, we're hanging our hat on grass growing faster, or something like that. More grass growing, or.
What is the date for the study session in November?
November 13th.
The 13th.
Okay. I give up.
Coincidentally, just kind of to add on, I had an opportunity to attend a meeting with Assemblyman Harper yesterday, and he wanted to meet with folks in his jurisdiction that do the same thing that I do for a living, so State Farm agents. And he's on the insurance and finance subcommittee or whatever it is. And I took the opportunity to talk to him a little bit about 2020 and what was coming up. And I will tell you that Matthew is very attuned to what's going on. He seems to have a good grasp of what's going on with solid waste. And we talked about the landfills. And he seems to think that the landfills are going to continue to be used extensively, but he did talk about tipping fees going up and things like that. But I talked to him a little bit about the fact that some of the haulers are looking at leaving California, and it's going to be a little tougher to get some of these mandates taken care of. He was pretty receptive to that, so I was glad I had a chance
He's
to talk.
part of the problem. I mean, he was there when they enacted the law. The thing on our table was Boston thinks they'll get to 80% recovery, and they already have a series of strategies, and so maybe we should clue in with what Boston's doing, that some of what might help us. I don't think we have a chance to make it by 2020. It'll be 63%. And so we should change our goal if we're not going to make it, if we don't intend to make it.
I manage some apartments in Santa Ana that is serviced by Waste Management and have been for years. And they just, we got a letter from the city saying that we have to employ or put together a program of
How to increase our diversion.
Right. And their Waste Management has taken a very active role in this. They're going to be, they're one of the options that you can option for, which, and lately their rates have just gone up about 20% in 1 year. So, I know that they were talking about if things don't improve, we're gonna leave the state of California. Well, that's a funny way to show it, you know?
Yeah.
If things don't improve, if things improve, that means their rates, as long as they make more money, then things improve. Just probably some of that.
Well, there's many different ways to do it. And we're pinning our hopes on a guy at CRNR working 20 hours a week to do educational materials. I haven't yet seen the nexus for how that's going to work. I think that, that's a good thing to do. I don't know what he's going to do to.
It seems to me, though, it seems like the public is starting to get it. I mean, the people I talk to, my neighbors and other people, they seem to get what they need to be thrown away and not thrown away. And I don't know if we're missing something in the characterization studies, or, maybe we're not getting the right information from the city, but I think we'll be above that 63. I personally, based on who you're the engineer, so you're far more knowledgeable, but I don't know. It seems like people are starting to get it. And we'll just...
The mayor of Boston and the mayor of L.A. couldn't agree on a dinner bet, but maybe we can.
You want to do an arm wrestling bet, or how do you want to...
I beat my grandson. He's strong as an ox.
I'm sure you could beat me, too. You're a strategist.
Well, aren't we in with the city on this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe we should strategize how we can get together with them more and, be part of this. I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know. I get the sense the city just isn't, they're not interested, is the way I look at it.
Well, could we put it on the next city district liaison committee meeting?
I think we should.
I mean, if we don't meet with them independently, at least I think Arlene's got a good point. We should at least ask them how or if they intend to meet that. We're 17% of the city's.
Right.
By the time we get to the next liaison meeting, there'll be more people on the city council to talk to anyway. So, it needs. I think it needs to be an ongoing discussion with the city. They, they're the ones ultimately are responsible. We're not going to take the flak.
Well, and let's be clear: the city is complying with the law, right? The law requires they set a target of disposal rate per capita, and I think for Costa Mesa it's like 8 pounds per capita. They're at 4 pounds per capita, so they're complying with the law. It's just that the board in the district took a stance that we're going to go over and beyond that. We want to achieve 75%. So the city's doing what they can, and they're complying. They're in compliance. There are other cities that are not in compliance, which I heard, I won't name here publicly, but I heard not too close from us, that aren't in compliance, and Cal Recycle is putting pressure on them to comply. They're starting to lower the hammer on these cities now. So, but Costa Mesa's in compliance.
Well, let's bring them to the study session to explain why they're using that benchmark and we're using another benchmark.
They're using a benchmark that's set by the state. If you want to, we want 75%. If you want to go that way, we can. It's the problem. They have a formula. The state has a formula to tabulate that pounds per capita. I don't know how it works. It's very challenging. What we do is we give our data to the city staff, and they do it. It's their response. They're a responsible agency for this by law to comply with that, the AB 939. And if we want to go to per capita, I think there's been some discussion about that, but I believe it's going to be very challenging for us to convert what it is per capita.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
Well, I think you just divide the tonnage by the people and.
It's not that easy. They use all kinds of.
Let's bring the city in or somebody to say we're in total compliance and we don't have to do anything more.
All you gotta do is look at I could print up a report for you from the Cal Recycle to show that they're in compliance. I'm saying we don't need to talk. If you want, we can.
Well,
but if I can get the report for you, I'll show you that they're in
compliance.
compliance. Okay, no problem.
I mean, for me to stand in and continue to ask, how are we going to meet that goal? Because it's a goal, and you have the data to show me that it's not necessary to worry about it. I want to see it.
Okay.
Mr. President, could I
Yes.
echo something that Scott said and make you feel good about something else? The state is cracking down, and we represent the city of Norco, and they're being leaned on about they have to start doing organics or something to bring their numbers down. And you'll be happy to know that they are using our ordinance to start that process.
Really? Norco's going to have a lot of organics to add to the digester, aren't they?
Have
Different kind of organics.
Have no trouble meeting green waste.
Yeah. Okay. Are you happy?
Well, I think so.
Okay. Item 2, then, the budget review.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first quarter report for fiscal year 18-19. Not a whole lot to report on because it's the first quarter. I do want to mention, though, in the wastewater fund expenditure analysis, the spreadsheet, you'll notice that the miscellaneous sewer work, it's over budgeted by $71,500. That's due to the SSO that occurred in August. And I don't have the full tabulations because I just signed off an invoice today on that, but I'm anticipating it's probably going to cost about $150,000 for that spill.
Is that including the work that Caltrans made us
Yes,
do?
include all that stuff, yes. Yeah, but I'll once I tabulate those numbers, I'll have that for you.
Questions on that? All right, let's go to item number 3.
Second here. Oh, okay. Yes. So, next year, 2019, is the district's 75th anniversary. On October 9th, staff brought to your attention the idea of establishing an ad hoc committee to come up with some plans and ideas to celebrate the 75th anniversary. In fact, it's one of our goals in our strategic plan, 4.5, which is in your staff report. As just to refresh your memory, when we had our 70th anniversary, the board did establish an ad hoc committee, and this year the board has directed us to look at it again and also consider adding 2 members from the Citizens Advisory Committee. So on October 10th, we presented this item to the CAC and suggested if anyone's interested, nominate who they want to serve on the committee. And it was the committee recommended and voted Chairman Mike Carey and Vice Chairman Al Graham to serve on this committee with you if you so choose to appoint a committee. So if staff is looking for direction from the board, if you want to appoint this ad hoc committee, we'll start probably scheduling meetings next month and start getting the planning going. So happy to answer any questions.
Art Perry has expressed an interest. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah.
I think he ought to be considered.
In the 70th anniversary committee, I don't think it was me. I think it was Art and Arlene that were on that ad hoc, not me. It wasn't me.
Okay.
So if those two did such a fine job on the 70th, I wouldn't see any problem with having them do the 75th.
They can just change the 0 to a 5.
That'll work. So.
Okay, so
it's not an action item.
Do they need to take in formal action on this?
Just appoint 2 members, please.
Then I will appoint Director Perry and Director Arlene and Secretary Schaefer.
Maybe with the caveat if Director Perry has an objection that we could change him out.
I think
I don't think he will.
I think he's ready.
See what happens when you're not here?
It always happens that way. Okay. Direction staff, is that okay? Look forward to the tchotchkes. You know what a tchotchke is?
Only because you say it a lot.
Do what?
Only because you say it a lot.
Not as much as I should. Item number 4, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is an application for an employee submitted a suggestion for a Rewarding Ideas program. Jesse Blakely, wastewater maintenance worker 2, submitted an idea that would enhance our computerized maintenance management system, and that would be to when the crew is out in the field cleaning the wastewater system, they have the tablets with them to obtain data, basically what has occurred last year. But what happens is that they have to kind of thumb through, go back and find that file and pull it up to compare what happened last year. What Jesse's suggesting is that data is already readily available on the current work order, so he can easily look what's currently in front of him, what's the current year versus last year, so he can easily identify what the issues were last year. Were there heavy roots? Was there heavy grease? Also provided a quick link to the videos, because right now to upload a video, he has to close maybe one window, open up another window or a file, and open the video up. So the idea is to have it all at one work order, so it's easy to access. He was actually suggested that while EEC, the consultant that manages our computerized management system, GIS, were in the field with him. They're doing a drive along with him. And he suggested that idea, and they said that's a fantastic idea, and I encouraged him to submit the rewards, which he did, and so that's why I'm recommending the board approve his suggestion for $100.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Wait, no, this is not the study session, so we can do this.
Yeah.
Okay, move
No,
approval.
we're in a regular board meeting.
We're in a regular board meeting.
I know it's been a busy time for you. We have a motion and a second.
Dizzy time.
Further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one absence. It was a good idea. I mean, just reading what he said made a lot of sense.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
congratulate Jesse from all of us.
I will. Thank you.
All right, D5?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is consider adopting ordinance number 121, amending chapter 6.07 of the Operations Code pertaining to grease control. As you might recall, on September 11th and September 20th, the board of directors received and discussed some issues, or not issues, some recommendations for a fats, oil, and grease program that is administered by EEC Environmental. There was quite a few recommendations that EEC suggested. The board approved in concept those recommendations and directed staff to bring back the revised ordinance and also the revised FOG manual. Tonight is just the ordinance. We didn't have time to amend the manual. In fact, I did receive suggestions on the manual today, and Rob and Steve Cano reviewing those, so we'll have that to you in November. So tonight we're recommending you adopt the changes in the ordinance, which is strike through. You can see the changes we're recommending, and so we're recommending approval of ordinance number 121.
Any questions for staff?
Move for approval.
Before you have a motion, we have a request under public comments. Mr. Mosier, you wanted to speak on this item, sir? Sorry.
Yes, President Schaefer, members of the board, my name is Jim Mosier. Due to my spotty attendance at these meetings, I perhaps don't know the full history of where the ordinance came from, and I did spend a rather frustrating week today seeing bad laws badly enacted in Newport Beach, so I apologize if some of that frustration may be coming out on you on a matter that has been more carefully considered than I think it has been. In Newport Beach, what happens sometimes is bad laws or laws that are hard to interpret get interpreted because the elected officials don't actually carefully review what they are being asked to enact. I have briefly reviewed this. I have a couple of questions about this. One of the sections at the end of it, there's section 170 about abatement. If somebody has a problem, they're entitled to have a hearing. It's not clear to me who the hearing is before. Is it before the general manager? Is it before this board? I don't know. More generally in here, I see that the person who is the FOG manager is being given the power to grant waivers and variances and so forth. I am not totally sure if the FOG manager is a staff person or it's the contractor from EEC. And I'm not somebody who's going to be impacted by this ordinance, but I would certainly wonder if I had a right to appeal that decision if I felt it was arbitrary and incorrect. And I see nothing in here about an appeal mechanism if you don't like the decision that they made. And then as far as things not being carefully reviewed, I know you have a limited tolerance for this, and this is not a very good way to do that, but here the ordinances don't go through a first and second reading, so I don't know what to do. I can point out that you have two sections at the end that have the same number. There's two section 170. And if I go to the beginning of the thing, you'll find on the first page the third whereas is misspelled. The next sentence after that is supposed to say whereas on December 6th. It doesn't say that. The next one refers to the district's grease control program. I think it's supposed to be the fog control program. The next page refers to the grease control program. Stuff that should be capitalized that's not. Words that are misspelled. Those are my comments. Thank you.
We'll close public comments.
Well, we apologize for the typo of whereas, and we'll certainly make sure we straighten out the number, and we appreciate that being brought to our attention that the numbering's out of sync. We'll fix that. But otherwise, I think it's okay. Sometimes grease should have been fog, but it's, fog is fats, oils, and grease, so it's a more generic reference. It should have properly been fog, and we should have capitalized certain things we didn't capitalize, but I think the ordinance is still sound, but we do want to fix the numbering.
The 170.
Yeah, we'll make 170 and 180.
Any other questions for staff?
Mr. President, if I could just make a
Scott,
comment,
sorry.
Mr. Mosier, as far as waivers, those are granted by staff is the one has authority to waive. It's usually recommended. Sometimes they're recommended by EC or by a permit. Our engineering technician will make those recommendations, but I sign off on those waivers.
Any other questions? The motion?
I was doing a motion, but in doing so, maybe I should also state that 170 will be readjusted
And the
with
misspelling.
the corrections indicating. Okay? And with that, I'd make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one absence. And item 6, concerts in the park. Scott?
And just for the record, that you received the raw ordinance with the strikeouts and all of that, and there's a final version that's polished and that I sign off on, and that's the one that actually is adopted. So we'll get that straight, and there's one more proofreading that happens.
Thank you.
I think it's more beneficial for you to see the strikeout version, to see what's being changed in the ordinance. So that's what we've done.
Okay, very good. All right, concerts in the park. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President. Gina Terriano will be giving this report.
Yeah.
Good evening, members of the board. Item 6 is a contribution application submitted by the Costa Mesa Foundation for their annual Concerts in the Park event series. This year, the contribution application was not received by the district prior to the event. And however, the district did receive the benefits associated with the gold level sponsorship, including a community booth at the event, preferred parking for staff, and logo recognition on all of the event materials. The district has sponsored at the gold level in the amount of $2,500 for the past 4 years. And in regards to the district's contribution criteria, staff did use the community booth to promote the concept of source separation and recycling. We do a recycling game where we test the attendees' knowledge of how certain items should be sorted. And we also use that program that game to promote our organics recycling program, our door-to-door household hazardous waste program, and also our Citizens Environmental Protection Academy. The Costa Mesa Foundation also made recycling containers available throughout the park for all of the events, and they also made announcements to promote recycling during the event. So staff is recommending approval of this contribution request despite its late submission, since the district did receive these opportunities to promote its programs and to advance its purpose through the series. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Questions for Gina? I have a comment. I'm going to support doing this. To me, there's no excuse for being late. I mean, they know that what they're. However, this year there were some anomalies with the city of Costa Mesa and the use of Fairview Park. I mean, it caused the fish fry to be 3 months later, and these guys weren't even sure they were going to be able to do concerts in the park really until the end. So with that, I'm going to move that we approve the contribution.
I agree with you, Mike. I think that it was kind of in disarray, and people were unsure of timing and all that. So I think we certainly don't want to encourage this application process being late, but I would support it.
I'll second.
Okay.
And also, you know, the turnout is really great. It's so fantastic of people coming to see everything. And we're part of it with having it set up there, so it's educational.
It is one of the highlights of the summer in Costa Mesa.
Right.
They do get a lot of people out there. It's
I was
unbelievable.
amazed.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how many people they get in.
Okay. Any other discussion? Sorry. Then I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one absence. With just a note to Leah and to the foundation that next year let's try to be early. Scott.
Mr. President, just a comment when on engineers' reports as you get started to talk about that. I do want to mention to the board on item number E3. We're recommending that you pull that item and for further discussion in November. It wasn't supposed to be on the agenda. That's missing some information that we're still obtaining. So if you don't mind, we want to table item E3, and we'll bring it back in the November study session for discussion.
Okay. Mr. Mosher, you had indicated a desire to speak on that topic. Do you want to wait until next month, or do you wish to speak on it this evening? When we get to it. I'll let you stew on it for a few minutes while we do items 1. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. All right, so let's do item 1 then. Rob?
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. On our project status report, we just received the contract back from the contractor for phase 11 of the grade 5s. That will be the final phase, and that will start here as soon as we sign off the contract. Also, the Canyon Force Main and Pump Station rehab will be going out to bid next week. Also, it was mentioned that we're tabling item 318. Actually, the staff report that's in there is the old staff report, so staff apologizes for that. And there will be all the information that was requested will be ready at the study session. And we have another project in design right now. It's the Indus Phase 2 sewer, where the apartment complex has pushed down our sewer, and we need to excavate and fix the sewer. And we're been working on design now for a month, and we understand how we're going to do it. We're going to have an additive bid item so that we can just do the amount of work that's necessary. And lastly, well, let's just leave it right there. So, thank you. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions on the report for Rob?
It did say that we were going to bid it early, the Canyon Pump Station Force Main, and you're saying it's been moved back. The bid has been moved back.
Yes, we found one more thing we had to fix, so we took care of it.
Item 2, Rob.
Thank you. Conflict of interest. I'm reporting that my private engineering firm is working on 1626 Ohms Way, which is a 3-unit industrial development, and I am doing the engineering on converting it into 3 industrial condominiums. And there's no sewer work involved, but that's what I'm doing. So I am disclosing that. It's an existing building, so there won't be any sewer fees or anything any impact on the district. It's just a conversion in the type of structure. Any questions?
Questions for Rob on item 2?
Thank you.
Item 3, then we'll.
And
Study
right,
session.
item 3, we will wait till the study session.
Very good.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Rob.
I have a comment on item 3. I think we'll be talking about this at the study session. I visited the site, and I would encourage the general manager to somehow arrange a tour with the individual directors to visit the site. I think the site is very interesting. And I would like to float a concept that the station be built in the cul-de-sac, potentially.
That is now being addressed in the report.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
But I think it's worth the director seeing the site.
I think it's.
I can show you how to get there.
Probably ought to. I used to live over there. I know how to get there.
Yeah.
We know that President Schaefer's been there.
I've been
He tromped in that winter wonderland we had with wastewater all over the ground.
Yep.
I'm still being reminded by my wife about that on occasion. Okay. Anything else, Bob? Thank you. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, Treasurer's report.
Mr. President, did you want comments?
Oh, I beg your thank you. Thanks, Mark. Mr. Mosher, I apologize.
Yes. Yeah, I'm never entirely sure if I'm going to be at your study sessions or not, so I might as well make the comment now. I was looking at the budget calculation page, and this is just kind of generic. This is going to be a large project in the range of $2 million. In the budget, there's 10% set aside for administration and inspection. 10% sounds like a reasonable amount, but it was pointed out in the newspaper, Rob's firm charges a pretty small fee for inspections. I think it's less than $100 an hour. So when you divide the $220,000 of work by that hourly rate, it works out to 2,000 or 3,000 hours of inspection work. And I'm hoping that at some point there will be a public explanation. The dollar amount, 10%, sounds reasonable. The hours sound a little bit strange, that there would be several thousand hours of inspection for a project that probably doesn't have that long a duration.
Isn't 10% our standard? That we.
May I address that,
Yeah,
please?
Rob, please.
10%. The 10% for contract administration / inspection covers project management. It covers the engineer for responding to RFIs, reviewing shop drawings, which there'll be approximately 50, and site visits, meetings with the contractor, approval of change orders, et cetera, et cetera. It also includes our 2 consultants, 1 structural engineer and 1 electrical engineer. They have to do some inspections of their own work to make sure that that's being built correctly. We have survey crew lined up. There's quite a few items that have to be staked, construction staking. Plus there's also special inspection on the structural side, and then lastly there's the inspection. So we had before we tabled everything and all, we were planning on somewhere between maybe 4 and 6 hours of inspection a day for the contract length of the contract. So it's not 2,000 or 3,000 hours.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, Mark, now we'll go to you.
Nothing this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Somehow I had a feeling. Thanks, Mark. Counselor.
Yes, Mr. President. The only thing I have to report is that we did have a call with Assistant District Attorney or Deputy District Attorney Bill Fallon on our Luna prosecution, and he had just received notification that the prosecution has been filed, and so the Luna and the person who dumped the material is being charged with Penal Code 374.2, and there will be an arraignment on November 16th. So that's what I have to report to you tonight.
No, I think it's important that I'm glad we're doing this. I mean, people need to understand that that's just not a place to dump when they open it. So thank you for the update, and hopefully it's successful for us.
And as the board remembers, the board actually directed the district attorney to file the prosecution, so you took a strong role in it.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions for Alan? All right, then we'll go to local meetings. Jim, you want to lead off?
Yeah, Orange County Sanitation District last night, about the quickest meeting I think we've ever had. I think it lasted about a half an hour. But at any rate, they did do, they commented on the state of the district celebration that they had, which I thought was very well done, and in some ways mimicked ours, and in some ways I think ours probably is a little bit nicer than that. But anyway, also they had a children's art contest with the Fountain Valley elementary schools, and you can't believe some of these paintings and that they displayed. It was really a neat deal, and they were awarded, certificates, and it was fun. So that was about everything that was significant.
Yeah, you want to talk about SARFA?
What's that?
You want to talk about the SARFA?
Oh, we didn't have I don't think we had a meeting last month. Let's see, I'd have to look and check and see.
Art told me there was no meeting last
Yeah, I don't think there was.
Item 3, I did not attend I know Arlene did. I didn't attend ISDOC because Jim and I and Olani and that wasn't you. Who else came to the state of the school district? That was you.
Yeah,
Of course,
she
I was
was
sitting
there.
right next to you. What?
Yeah.
So the 4 of us attended. So I'll just real quickly before I give you ISDOC. It was nice. I mean, it's nice to see other agencies and how they operate. I thought it was a little bit of a dog and pony show. I mean, a little bit, but it was nice to see. The only complaint I had was that it was at Corona Del Mar High School, and in the gymnasium. It ended at about 8:30, and you know what happens at Corona Del Mar at 8:30 in the morning?
All the people show up.
All the kids show up. It was a little brutal getting out of that parking lot, and there weren't. It's hard to maneuver between all the Teslas and Mercedes and big Lexus. So it was, but it was. I don't know, if, ladies, how you felt, but I thought it was done very well. It was nice to see the kids serving breakfast, doing all the work. It was really good. So anyway, Arlene, you want to talk about ISDOC?
Yeah, ISDOC, let's see. I've got September's and I got October. I don't need October's.
Not yet.
Actually,
No, we would like to hear about October's.
October?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
This is October.
Oh, God. I'm really, okay, October. So, the big thing was that we talked about LAFCO and the MSRs that they're into now, that they're, Devert, anyway, he talked about it. They talked about wanting to elect different people, and in October, actually, what happened was we don't have a secretary, and everybody's asking around for a secretary now because Doug doesn't want to be secretary, and so we absolutely do not have a secretary. I will be second vice president because nobody's running but me. And aside from that, let's see what else. We talked about Aqua. Sandra Jacobs gave a report on that, what was going on in that, and that they will be having a speaker, which they had today on homeless, and that was very interesting. Susan Price, and she was good. She kind of left it open that she wants to come back, and there was so much unfinished, but she was at least starting out letting us know about it. Membership, Mark reported on that, and Mark will be going up to be vice president. And that was about it, for that. And then Waco.
Or you do Waco, do you want to do CSDA? Report from CSDA.
Okay, CSDA, nothing to really report. I went up there one time, but I'm going up there next Thursday and Friday, and that's when the professional business group, we're getting together, and I guess we're just going to, it's an evaluation time for everything. And so everybody will be evaluating all the programs, what's gone on, and so forth. And that's one day, and then there's a membership too, and then what else? Legislation. That's a big one that we go to another area for, and we do planning for next year. What is important in that legislation? And of course now we have the new CEO for SDRMA, and so we're real happy with that. She's really taken an active role with us.
We're very happy at SDRMA.
Yeah, so that's really, it works out good. And
well, I'll be on that you're going up for the actual meeting.
Yeah.
So I'll be on the I can't go up next week, but I'll be on the conference call for that that
okay.
meeting as well. Aren't you chairman of that committee? Yeah.
Okay, and then Waco was October 5th, and that was, what was it? They had the governor's support on taxes on the water for 2019, and a lot of the water bills were supported, and that was mostly what it was about. And let's see what else is there. I went to an opening of Vanguard, I should say the groundbreaking of Vanguard, which was really very good.
What are they breaking ground? Oh, they're doing now?
They're going to have a whole big section that's going to be a place for cafeteria type for the people going there, and also have some offices there. Very nice. And that was outside, and the weather was okay. They just forgot to tell us where, so I tromped through the campus trying to find out where I was supposed to be. And then Sandra Jacobs will be the new president of ISDOT. That's, the two people from Vector Control didn't get anything off of that. But what else?
Mr. President, I have a question.
Sir.
Or a comment. We are studying Vanguard University right now.
Oh.
They have applied for a sewer permit for the buildings you have mentioned. We've checked the plan, and we are also having them do a sewer capacity study of their entire development there. So we've been back and forth with them now for a month.
It's quite a large
right.
development.
They do have a lot of redevelopment coming up. So
Yes.
they're working on their master plan.
That campus is busting at its seams,
That-
and there
that's
is no place
correct.
that they can expand to.
Right.
Unless they buy out City Hall, move City Hall or something.
Yeah. Well, they're doing a good job, though. So increasing, who they have there and so forth. So Yeah, and then I went to the Chamber of Commerce. It's a government committee I sit on once a month. I won't be able to make it next month because I'll be up in Sacramento. But anyway, it consists of mostly developers and people that, like Fitzpatrick was there because he's into his drugs, or I shouldn't say drugs.
His cannabis business.
Cannabis, yeah, excuse me. And so he talked some too. And it's a, always have somebody from another city, like Huntington Beach was there once to see what it was like. And see, I have a, Rob, I have a book here too.
Oh, great.
If you want it.
Yes, I'd like to see
Yeah,
that.
it's really very
Thank you.
for Vanguard. And that was about it. Aside from that, the three of us made the paper for the Daily Pilot. So that was nice. Actually, I'm sorry, there's four of us. I'm leaving off somebody. And aside from that, nothing else.
Congratulations to your grandson.
Oh, yes.
And a wonderful wedding in Mammoth.
Yeah, wow, 4 days.
That's good for you. SDRMA, we did not meet in the month of October. We have our next board meeting on the 7th and 8th of November. So I told him I'm either going to be in a really good mood or really bad mood. So we'll be up there for that.
Gee.
I thought you were coming to my birthday party on the 7th.
I probably won't. Other meetings, as part of one of my roles on ISDOC is to be the representative for OCOG, and so Jim and I attended the OCOG meeting today at Huntington Beach City Hall, and it was nip and tuck to get a quorum, but finally about a half hour into the meeting we got a quorum. Yeah. So
Never have a quorum.
it's I don't know.
They move it around so
meetings
often that half the people don't know where the heck they're having the meeting.
And then when they have it at Irvine City Hall, there's no parking.
Right.
But the speakers today, I think we got 2 sales pitches at OCOG today, don't you? Yeah. The solar, there's we had a presentation on something called Grid, which is a solar panel installation for underprivileged and low income people, where they get 100% of their solar taken care of.
Wow.
Unfortunately, Costa Mesa doesn't fit the criteria, so we're not included in there. Dave Kiff gave a presentation on former city manager of Newport Beach, and we talked about homeless. And then we had a presentation from a group that I'd never heard of before, but it's an advocacy group here in Orange County that provides food and services to elderly and underprivileged and low income. Do you remember what was
Gregory Scott.
Remember the name of the organization? The Community
Action Partnership
of Orange County.
Orange County.
Yeah. And it was funny, they were talking about the homeless issue, and two people on the OCOG board asked Dave Kiff if Fairview Developmental Center was being considered for, the anti-camping ordinance in Costa Mesa. Scott, you've been to these meetings, so you know that the city of Costa Mesa can't delete its anti-camping ordinance until it has 50 beds, right?
You mean can't enforce
Cannot
enforce it?
Cannot enforce thank you. You cannot enforce anti-camping unless you have 50 beds available.
I don't know if it's 50, but it's a certain amount of number they have to have available. Once, in fact, we learned this today at ISDOC, is that once you have beds available, then you can hold people accountable for receiving services, and if they refuse to receive services, then you can enforce your anti-camping laws against them. So, but the first step is you got to make sure you have beds available for them, and that's what the city's trying to do.
Okay. Well, it was interesting, these people that asked about Fairview Developmental Center, and I wanted to say, well, with the way the city council is right now in Costa Mesa, you'll never get that through until Fairview Developmental Center would be I guess, a pretty good place, but I don't think it'll ever happen. But it was a interesting, very quick meeting today. That was good.
I attended the ISDOC meeting today, and Ms. Price gave an overview. It sounds like Orange County is ahead of the game as far as what counties are doing. She gave a lot of information. They're progressing. They're going to be up to about 1,300 beds pretty soon. And I think the homeless population is around 4,000, of which a certain percentage don't want to be housed, and it includes a lot of people who are on drugs and whatnot. So they get them in a facility, and then they can at least find the proper places for them to go. The 50 beds, I think, came from just a division of population. So there's an order by probably the judge, and they divvied up the needs based on population. So I think that's where the 50 beds, Costa Mesa 50 beds came from. And she said probably the quickest thing to do is hotels, motels.
Yeah,
That's where a lot of their beds are coming from. And she said basically the motel owners, don't want to give up their motels for. So they had suggested trailer parks, and they suggested small homes. There's little houses, they call them HGTV.
Tiny
They have the little
houses.
tiny houses. And there's a lot of options, but they're making great progress, it seems like, in Orange County.
I know there's a group called American Family Housing out of Garden Grove, and they're building facilities for veterans, homeless veterans, and they're taking shipping containers.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they're making them into like little studio apartments.
Yeah, Long Beach has completely housed every veteran that is every homeless veteran that has a need to be housed. So there are cities that are making progress.
I was surprised at the meeting today how much they talked about the water district being so heavily involved with the homeless.
I think it was just she was confused. That's the issue she was
And then-
somewhat confused on, as far as I could tell.
And then when she talked about needles, I thought, why doesn't she say something about sanitary district? I mean, it was kind of strange, some of the takes that you got from this. But she mentioned Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa, so much in everything. So, but she didn't really say us.
I attended the Waco meeting also, and it was the second phase of water reliability. It was done by the assistant GM, MODOC, I believe, and a huge technical study, and he just laboriously went through the process. Too much information, and
Sorry, I missed it.
a great engineering presentation.
Perfect. I forgot one of the other things that OCOG was interesting today was Charlie Wilson did a pretty good job of talking about the water fix.
Oh.
And I didn't realize that Metropolitan Water District is going to fund 60% of the water fix. 60%.
Wow.
So I don't know where they get the rest of the money, but hopefully. Okay. Other meetings? And then we'll go to oral communications and director comments. I would like to wish Director Uten and Secretary Schaefer good luck in 2 weeks.
That'll be my birthday
Same
present.
to you.
Thank you.
I just had a birthday.
So by our study session, you'll have some really, actually 2 of us are kind of guaranteed it, but we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks. I'm sure you 2 got the memo from Brenda Green about signs,
No.
Yeah.
I didn't.
about where you can put signs, and
No.
so that was Scott. You saw that, I think, didn't you? Did you get a copy of that?
I
Brenda
could.
Green, the city clerk, sent out a email to candidates about placement of signs. When you drive through Huntington Beach, it makes me glad, or Garden Grove, it makes me glad I live in Costa Mesa.
Westminster.
Westminster. I mean, someone was telling me today that if you go through Huntington Beach, you see these Matthew Harper was mentioning yesterday. You go through Huntington Beach and they have these 4x8 wall boards, you know, and apparently, and I didn't know this, but the outside of your block wall you don't own. That's city property. That's what Harper was saying. So in Huntington Beach, they can get away with putting these billboards. They look like billboards anyway. I'm glad we have at least some kind of sign ordinance at Costa Mesa that limits what candidates.
Scott,
can
I'll
do.
forward you the thing. I asked her a question about. It says commercial signs can be placed in different places, but I think I have to clarify this with her. Commercial signs would be realtor signs,
right?
As far as I'm concerned, or as far as the signs are generally placed. But she said they have the same restrictions, and so I've got to talk to her about what that really means. Basically, it's city property. So along the golf course, all those signs got taken down on Harbor Boulevard. Baker and Mesa Verde, for some reason, all that property, you can't put signs there. It is such a fabulous. They're enforcing it also.
Yeah.
Thank God. It just litter.
A lot of stuff out there. So anyway, good luck to all of you. Happy Halloween.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other comments? Anybody? If not, then I will adjourn us to our study session on November 13th. Thank you, staff.
Good luck.
Thank you, Rob.
Look, everyone.